everybody. Okay, so I totally forgot to press record, but what I did remember is to let you guys know look at how amazing the sunset is. I am here in Amsterdam, specifically in an old fishing village called Volendam. So that's the last place we'll be going on in this vlog, because when you do your research on Instagram or on Google about the tours that you're going to do in Amsterdam, the most important one, the number one that you're probably going to do, is go to this windmill village called this one. Give you guys a little bit of information about this place. So there's a gazillion windmills all over the Netherlands, right? Which I believe used to be called Holland. So because they wanted the city center to be built with other infrastructure, they had to bring the windmills elsewhere because they were no longer really operational, as windmills were now, there's electricity, and then with all the water pump systems that were invented by the Dutch, it evolved from windmills to underneath the ground. But then, of course, they still wanted to retain the beauty of the windmills, not only for tourists, but mostly like for the generations. It's the newer generations, for them to appreciate like their heritage, their culture, of how they've evolved when it comes to water engineering and all these things. So what the government did is they actually, it's almost like they uprooted or they transferred a lot of these windmills and brought it to the site, and they sort of made like a heritage village. In a way, it was sort of like the former Nayong Filipino in the Philippines, right? Where you have a little bit of everything from the country and you get to appreciate it. Well, in this sense, this is sort of like a mini village of windmills where they were the originals. So all these buildings right here are the original. Windmills are not really just there for aesthetic or pretty, but actually they're water pumping systems. So what do we mean by that? So the Netherlands is mostly flat. As a country, they don't really have roving hills and mountains, and 2/3 of it is really can sink below sea level. It's kind of like the Philippines, but because the Dutch are some of the best engineers in the world, they have created like water systems that they even have subways despite how high their water level is. So perfect way to explain it as to why windmills were so important. We're talking about like in the 1700s, okay? And this is a time where there was no electricity yet. Take a look at these swamp grounds right here, which is connected to that water, which is connected to that windmill. So imagine that Amsterdam was truly a lot of the swampland. And in order to build any infrastructure, you would want to drain out all that water. So that's where windmills come in. So the windmills actually have a spiraling suction underneath that's powered by the wind, hence the propeller, that will suction out all the water from the land, and it leads it to the river. And for it to, you can grow infrastructure in it, they had to find a way to drain out that water. And so they had built all these different canals. Specifically, there are 5 main canals in Amsterdam, but at the same time, there's hundreds of them that are just connected to one another. And that's why Amsterdam used to be like one of the more powerful countries in the world because of trading. They were a free port. So these windmills, a lot of them are actually houses. So people actually live there. And a lot, because apart from it being windmills, they're also used for milling rice and I believe just for other things as well, other than just to pump out water. So because they're also residential, the locals had to find a way to communicate with one another from one house to another, especially back in the day when they didn't have texts or DMs or TikToks or whatnot, right? We were told that the position of the propellers, when it's in a certain position, it's like telling your neighbor, oh, like we have a newborn, or let's say somebody died. Or in another case where it's in a neutral position, I'm honestly not sure what position that is. It just means like there's no news today. There are no mariteses today. So that's pretty interesting. Despite the rain and despite the wind, the smell of chocolate and like waffles is like just traveling through the damp air, right? And I just had to go inside one little shop, and there it was. They were making like waffles. It's like this little tourist store with all these wood carvings and just really beautiful. And you'll just really want to try the waffles. It was nice that despite their false lashes and full makeup, that the store attendants were in their costume. Very pretty, adding to the experience. Okay, when I said earlier that these are the original buildings, inside this store right here, there's actually a seal from the royal family that's right at the center where the cashier is. Now, when a store actually has that like royal seal of approval, it means that the establishment is more than 100 years old. So this building right here, more than 100. Pretty good skincare routine if you ask me. Since you guys pretty much have an idea of how beautiful, majestic, and powerful these windmills are, hopefully you guys can come here on a sunny day, better weather. Bring a raincoat, bring an umbrella, windbreaker, and yeah. And then the second place that you would be taken to, now when we think of Amsterdam, or when you think of Holland, when you think of the Netherlands, we also think of a lot of cows, roaming around in the fields because they've got a lot of cheese. So we actually went to this cheese factory called Henri Willig, not Willig, Willig. And it was really nice. Like that guy, he was so cute, by the way. He was like, teaching us like how cheese is made. And then what is very unique to Henri Willig is that they flavor. So apart from actually showing how it's made and that pasteurization, and then showing how like the owner or the founder, Henri Willig, had those old photos and whatnot, just showing him with his wife from its humble beginnings. And then you go inside this room, and that's where I guess like the freezer is, or where they actually age their cheese. Now the orange ones are the cow's cheese, and then the ones that are black are the goat's cheese. Actually, the goat cheese is the very first product that Henri Willig had started with, and then it just progressed into cow's cheese. In fact, there was a really, really fat goat that we actually saw. The land is actually quite vast because they also have where they actually milk their cows, where they package their cheese. So it's sort of like the production line, if you will, to show you how it's done, and at the same time how it's made, and to show that they're not really hurting the cows or whatnot. So yeah, a further appreciation for it. Now, when you take a look at the logo, so in the sign it says Jacob Hoeve. Okay, and that's not actually a last name. So Hoeve just sort of means like area, or like the place where it's at. So Jacob is actually one of the sons of Henry. So that plot of land, or that vast plot of land, was actually bought for him to expand the business, because eventually when Henry retired, he actually gave the business to his two sons, who propagated all that cheese. And you can actually find Henri Willig in many parts of Europe. Okay, so that's Henri Willig. It's really, really good. It's super delicious. In fact, trying the cheese was just as fun. So good. sold. Oh, there's one flavor. Very tropical. Coconut. Oh my God. Don't knock it till you try it. So my daughter, what she did was get a little bit of coconut and then dunk it in a little bit of honey. Okay, it's called pineapple ginger cheese dip. Oh my God, if pina colada was like in a solid form,
It's
so good. It's so good. Okay, sold. This is my super favorite. Oh no, it's called sheep cheese extra old. Super good. And then you dunk it in the apricot. Here. So good.
Winner.
And then from cheese, we now move on to Volendam. And it's right about sunset right now. And it's just right in time for me to say goodbye, but not without sharing with you what I did last year and this visit. Volendam. Unfortunately, last year, what we were told is that it was an old fishing village, and our tour guide, our driver had just dropped us off by the parking lot and said, you can have lunch here, just enjoy the sights, and I'll see you guys back in an hour and a half. What he didn't say is pretty much like a bajillion things. One of the things that we actually got to do, it was kind of nasty, but it's one of those rite of passage that you need to do when you are here in Amsterdam, which is of course have some herring. Check that out. Okay, so when in the Netherlands, so because we're in a fishing village, the one thing that they keep advertising is herring. And they even have posters of it, and of course you see it on the food channel and all these things. So when you buy it, this is actually £2.50. That's about 150 pesos. It's raw, okay. It's not really raw, no, it's semi-raw, it's pickled. Okay, doesn't matter. But the point is, the girl asked, do you want it chopped already, or do you want it with the tail? And of course, you see it on TV how they eat it with the tail, so I'm gonna try it. What does it feel like? It's super slimy. It is so slimy. It's actually really slippery. I guess this is why they give you tissue. Look at this. It keeps, okay, just hold it by the, okay. I'm trying not to throw up. The taste is amazing. It's pickled fish, it's fish, but it's the texture. It's really, really slimy and slippery and cold. So if texture is a thing for you, yeah, it's a little bit jarring. But okay, when you bite into it, it's like gelatin. It's kind of like gelatin, so it's kind of sinewy, jello, like frozen fat. This is not great how I'm describing it, but in terms of briny, salty, sardiny, sure. At least now I got to try herring. Now, what he didn't share is, do you see this? All those houses right behind me? Do you guys notice anything at all? Okay, so that's actually called a labyrinth, and it's because if you take a look at all the houses, they're actually pointed in different directions, because whoever did I wouldn't say the floor plan, but I guess the house plan of this community didn't really have a map, didn't have I guess an as-built or a blueprint of what direction they'd be facing, according to the streets, to the grids, but no, it was just they just all built it, and they were all just haphazardly, and hence earning the nickname the labyrinth. So you can see there's so many houses, right? There's so many houses. It's like, Volendam is its own community. And in fact, we were even thinking, like, why is it included in one of like the main sites to see in Amsterdam? Because you've got your windmill village, you've got your heritage cheese, and then you have this old fishing village, which could be any part of town because it's surrounded by water. But apparently, so the people here, they actually have their own dialect, which is very, very, very specific. And it's one of those like, speaking Dutch is one thing, but to actually understand like maybe hello, it would just be it. So right now we are actually inside the labyrinth. So, the houses are just like, look at this. It's just like not really straight, and it's just very random how they're laid out. There was no architectural plan, I guess. But I love it. It makes it so interesting, and interesting to get home when you're drunk, for sure. In any type of community, any country, any culture, you want to protect its heritage. So how they do that is the locals, they actually like make sure to do business only with one another. Like if they're going to be selling their land and stuff, they will only sell it to other people who are also within the community. I mean, is it a little bit too clannish or cliquish? But we can say that about many other peoples, right? But here it's kind of like what they're known for. Now, this church over here, which is actually quite lovely, it's a Catholic church. So of course, just like any community, they also have their parish. And we're just walking through parts of the town. It's actually 6:30 p.m. now. And usually the tour is only 4 hours, from about 2 p.m. to 6, where people are already closing, and you can see like a lot of stores are already closed, even restaurants. And usually on a Monday, a lot of the stores are closed, but they are open on Sundays. So if you're gonna come and visit, unlike every European city that's closed on Sundays, not this one. So yeah, it's a nice walk. Take a look at how a very tiny community has learned to in a way market themselves and show other people this is how we live, this is where we live, and come and explore, come and appreciate, and eat, shop, and also support their livelihood. They actually opened their very first hotel, and that is the Hotel Spander. So I'm not saying it's the only hotel, but historically this is the very first hotel here in Volendam. Now we're finally making our way towards the place where I recognized from last year, which is the only part that we walked by the marina. And that was it. And at least now I'm coming this time again to understand about this town, about the community, to better appreciate it. And voila. So there is a place here. It's called Het Pret House. And it's just basically, look at it. It's just a room where the elderly men, I wouldn't say, I don't know if it's men and women, but just elderly, I guess the senior leaders in the community, and they all congregate in this room and just talk about stuff. That is the most ambiguous thing I've ever heard. Maybe when there's a town council meeting. There you go. Yeah. Okay, now the restaurant right behind me, it's because a lot of stuff are closed, this one is still open. So apart from the herring that I showed you guys that I actually tried last year, and it was really, really cold, which sort of added to the mystique of it, and it was raining. This time around, it's super summer, and this restaurant, or this town, is actually really known for its smoked eel. So, in Japanese, it's their unagi. And one of the more famous restaurants that we wanted to eat, unfortunately on Mondays it's closed. Thank God that this restaurant right here actually serves a smoked eel sandwich. Okay, so we finally have our smoked eel. Okay, so I want to try it first just by itself, and then later on we'll do it with the bread. Super oily, but the oil comes from the eel, super fresh. It just has that very small tinge of brininess. The meat is so tender. I don't know how it's prepared, but it's not raw, but it is cooked so perfectly. Yeah, it's just so tender. I get it why people, they would serve it like a sandwich, because maybe the texture of just the fish is maybe a little too much for people. So just to break that sliminess, if you will, you have it with a bread. It's like a sardine sandwich. Yeah. And there you have it. So, you know, there are so many ways to experience a place, experience certain places, but for every tourist, you kind of want to know what are the most popular tourist spots, historical, cultural, and those are the top three. Like when you research it, the Windmill Village, you have the Henri Willig cheese, and then you have here Volendam. And everything else, if you still have time, the budget and all that, you can explore more places. And of course, make sure we are also going to be airing my canal cruise on Amsterdam, which is also one of the most favorite things to do when in Amsterdam. So anyway, I'm Bianca Valerio. Until next time, whether raining or sunny in some part of the world, I'll see you guys on the channel next week, every Sunday with a new vlog. Bye guys.